et elle dit un lien avec la France, avec l'expuissance coloniale qui n'a pas été rompue.
Parce que celui qui contrôle la monnaie contrôle la production, contrôle l'échange, contrôle la consommation.
On ne peut pas comprendre l'histoire du CFA si on ne comprend pas, de l'autre côté, l'histoire de l'insertion primaire de l'Afrique au sein du commerce international. C'est exactement la même histoire.
Can France print counterfeit CFA franc notes to sabotage Mali's economy? France has used such tactics many times in the past, and now they are at it once again. However, this time France underestimated their opponent. Mali's president immediately recognized the threat and delivered a speech to educate the people.
C'est un héritage empoisonné dont il faut se séparer.
This attack prompted him to implement measures that would protect Mali in the long term. But the question remains, can Mali truly defend itself against such an attack? If so, how? Let's find out. In a controversial move, Mali's President Assimi Goïta has accused France of engaging in economic sabotage by printing counterfeit CFA franc notes. This accusation has brought to the forefront long-standing tensions between Mali and its former colonial ruler, highlighting the complexities of post-colonial economic relationships in West Africa. But what's the background of the CFA franc?
Est-ce que c'est le continent d'avenir pour les Africains ou est-ce que c'est le continent d'avenir pour l'Europe, la Chine, les États-Unis, en tout cas la France, qui a une histoire avec l'Afrique, une histoire coloniale, qui n'arrive pas à couper le cordon ombilical.
The CFA franc, an acronym for Communauté Financière Africaine, African Financial Community, was introduced on December 26, 1945. This currency is currently utilized by 14 African nations, predominantly former French colonies. These countries are divided into two economic unions, the West African Economic and Monetary Union, WEMU, and the Central African Economic and Monetary Community, CEMAC. The establishment of the CFA franc system was ostensibly aimed at fostering economic stability and facilitating development in the post-colonial era. However, this currency arrangement has long been a subject of intense debate, particularly from a pro-Africa and anti-West perspective. The creation of the CFA franc coincided with the end of World War II, a period when European powers, including France, were grappling with the loss of their colonial empires. France sought to retain its influence over its former colonies by embedding economic and financial controls within their newly independent structures. The CFA franc was one such tool, ostensibly designed to stabilize these fledgling economies. Yet, this arrangement effectively tethered the economic sovereignty of African nations to France. The CFA franc is pegged to the euro, a mechanism overseen by the French Treasury. This peg means that the value of the CFA franc is directly linked to the value of the euro, which France controls. Supporters argue that this arrangement offers several benefits, including currency stability, low inflation rates, and a safeguard against devaluation. However, this perspective often overlooks the profound economic and political implications of such a system. The CFA franc is seen as a vestige of colonialism that perpetuates dependency on France. The guarantee by the French Treasury means that African nations must deposit a significant portion of their foreign exchange reserves with the French central bank. This practice not only restricts these countries' ability to manage their reserves, but also generates a substantial financial benefit for France. The interest paid on these reserves, albeit minimal, flows back to the French economy rather than being reinvested in African development. The economic impact of the CFA franc on member countries is a subject of considerable debate. On one hand, the currency's stability and the low inflation rates associated with it are cited as positive outcomes. On the other hand, critics argue that this stability comes at a significant cost. The fixed exchange rate regime hinders these countries' ability to adjust their monetary policies to respond to local economic conditions. This rigidity can exacerbate economic disparities and stifle growth. Moreover, the peg to the euro means that the monetary policy of the eurozone, which is primarily tailored to the economic conditions of Europe, is imposed on African economies. This misalignment can result in inappropriate policy measures that do not address the specific needs of CFA franc member states. For example, during periods of economic downturn in Europe, the European Central Bank may lower interest rates to stimulate growth. However, such measures may not be suitable for African economies that might require different interventions. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Beyond the economic implications, the CFA franc has significant political ramifications. The continued influence of France in the monetary policies of African countries underscores a broader neo-colonial relationship. This arrangement symbolizes a lack of true sovereignty and self-determination, as key aspects of economic governance remain under foreign control. The CFA franc is a tool of economic imperialism. It allows France to exert significant influence over the political and economic affairs of its former colonies. This influence can manifest in various ways, from dictating economic policies to leveraging financial control for political gains. Such a dynamic perpetuates a power imbalance that hinders the ability of African nations to pursue independent and self-sustaining development paths. So, before Mali's president said something about the economic sabotage done by the CFA franc, there were already many issues. There has been a growing movement within Africa to reform or abolish the CFA franc in recent years. Critics argue that the currency system is outdated and incompatible with the aspirations of African nations for true economic independence. They advocate for the creation of a new currency that would be managed by African institutions and reflect the economic realities of the continent. This push for reform gained significant momentum in 2019 when the leaders of WAMU announced plans to replace the CFA franc with the ECO, a new currency intended to be free from French oversight. However, the implementation of the ECO has faced numerous challenges, including disagreements among member states and the complexities of transitioning to a new monetary system. Nonetheless, this initiative represents a significant step towards economic emancipation and greater autonomy for African countries. What made this situation worse for France was the recent remarks by Mali's president. The recent accusation by President Assimi Goïta has sent shockwaves through both Mali and the broader international community. He claims that France has been involved in a covert operation to destabilize Mali's economy by printing counterfeit CFA franc notes. If these allegations hold any truth, the implications for Mali's financial stability are profound, potentially leading to rampant inflation, a loss of public confidence in the currency, and widespread economic chaos. These accusations are not just about economic malpractice. They are steeped in a long history of colonial and post-colonial tension between African nations and France. President Goïta's charges against France are severe. He alleges that France, under the guise of maintaining economic stability, has been secretly printing counterfeit CFA franc notes. The CFA franc, used by 14 countries in West and Central Africa, is a currency system with deep colonial roots, still tied to the French treasury and pegged to the euro. Goïta asserts that France's actions are a deliberate attempt to sabotage Mali's economy. By flooding the market with counterfeit notes, the value of the CFA franc would plummet, leading to hyperinflation and eroding the purchasing power of Malians. Such economic instability could precipitate a loss of public confidence in the government and create a fertile ground for political unrest. But what provides a base for this argument? The backdrop to these allegations is a history of French interference in the economic and political affairs of its former colonies. This historical context is crucial to understanding the depth of Goïta's claims. In 1960, Guinea, under President Ahmed Sékou Touré, chose to break away from French control and pursue a path of genuine independence. In response, France allegedly engaged in economic sabotage by withdrawing its administrative and technical support overnight and purportedly printing and flooding Guinea with counterfeit currency to destabilize its economy. This historical precedent lends credence to Goïta's accusations, suggesting a pattern of behavior where economic manipulation is used as a tool of control and punishment. And if the accusations are true, what economic implications will be the result of it? If France were indeed printing counterfeit CFA francs, the economic repercussions would be disastrous. The introduction of fake currency into the market increases the money supply without a corresponding increase in goods and services, leading to inflation. Inflation erodes the value of money, making everyday goods more expensive for the average citizen and reducing overall economic stability. In severe cases, hyperinflation can occur, where prices rise uncontrollably, and the currency loses almost all its value. For Mali, already grappling with political instability and security challenges, such economic sabotage would exacerbate existing problems. The loss of confidence in the currency could lead to capital flight, where investors and citizens move their money out of the country to safer havens. This would further deplete Mali's foreign exchange reserves, weaken the banking system, and stifle economic growth. Beyond the economic consequences, the allegations of economic sabotage carry significant political weight. President Goïta, who came to power through a military coup, has faced considerable international pressure and criticism. Alleging French sabotage could be a strategic move to rally domestic support by framing his administration as a defender of national sovereignty against neo-colonial interference. Such claims can resonate deeply with a populace that has historical grievances against colonial powers. By positioning himself against France, Goïta taps into a broader sentiment of anti-colonialism and the desire for true independence. This narrative can strengthen his political legitimacy and consolidate his power base, portraying his administration as one that stands firm against foreign meddling. The allegations also have broader implications for Franco-African relations. France's relationship with its former colonies has always been complex, characterized by a mix of cooperation, dependency, and tension. Accusations of economic sabotage, whether substantiated or not, can strain diplomatic ties and foster a climate of mistrust. For France, these allegations are damaging. They undermine France's image as a partner in Africa's development and instead paint it as a neo-colonial power bent on retaining control through underhanded tactics. This perception can fuel anti-French sentiment across the region and weaken France's influence in its former colonies. Given the severity of the allegations, there is an urgent need for transparency and a thorough investigation. Both Mali and France must engage international bodies such as the African Union and the United Nations to conduct an impartial inquiry into the claims. Transparency is crucial to restoring trust and ensuring that the truth is uncovered, whatever it may be. If the allegations are proven true, it would necessitate a significant reckoning in Franco-African relations and potentially lead to reparations and policy changes. But staying secure is important for Mali now. So what is Goïta doing to minimize the impact of such sabotage? In the face of allegations that France is deliberately printing counterfeit CFA franc notes to destabilize Mali's economy, President Assimi Goïta has taken decisive action to minimize the potential impact of such sabotage. These measures are not only aimed at addressing the immediate economic threats, but also at securing Mali's long-term financial independence and sovereignty. Central to Goïta's strategy is the proposal to abandon the CFA franc and adopt a new, locally produced currency. Goïta's call for a new currency stems from a desire to break free from these constraints and establish true economic sovereignty. Goïta argues that the adoption of a new currency is crucial for Mali's economic independence. By creating a locally produced currency, Mali would gain greater control over its monetary policy, allowing it to respond more effectively to domestic economic conditions. This move is seen as a necessary step to protect Mali's economy from external manipulation and ensure that its financial system serves the interests of the Malian people rather than foreign powers. The implementation of a new currency is a complex process that requires careful planning and execution. President Goïta has outlined several key steps that Mali will take to transition away from the CFA franc and establish a new monetary system. Goïta has called for the formation of a national currency committee comprised of economic experts, government officials, and representatives from the private sector. This committee will be responsible for overseeing the design, production, and implementation of the new currency. It will also work on developing policies and frameworks to ensure a smooth transition and minimize disruptions to the economy. To garner public support and ensure a successful transition, the government plans to launch a comprehensive public awareness campaign. This campaign will educate citizens about the benefits of the new currency, the reasons behind the change, and the steps involved in the transition process. By keeping the public informed and engaged, the government aims to build confidence in the new currency and mitigate potential resistance or confusion. A robust financial system is essential for the successful implementation of a new currency. Goïta's administration is prioritizing the strengthening of Mali's financial institutions, including the central bank and commercial banks. This involves enhancing regulatory frameworks, improving banking infrastructure, and ensuring that financial institutions are adequately capitalized to support the new currency. To support the new currency and reduce dependency on foreign aid and imports, Goïta is emphasizing the need for economic diversification and development. This includes investing in key sectors such as agriculture, mining, and manufacturing to create a more resilient and self-sufficient economy. By boosting domestic production and reducing reliance on imports, Mali can enhance its economic stability and create a strong foundation for the new currency. While the primary goal is to achieve economic independence, Goïta recognizes the importance of maintaining constructive relationships with international partners. The government is seeking technical assistance and support from international organizations such as the African Union, the Economic Community of West African States (ECOWAS), and the United Nations. These partnerships will provide valuable expertise and resources to facilitate the transition to a new currency. In the long term, how would Goïta's measures impact Mali? President Goïta's push for a new currency is part of a broader vision for Mali's economic independence and sustainable development. The goal is to create a financial system that is resilient, self-sufficient, and capable of supporting the country's long-term growth and prosperity. By taking control of its monetary policy, Mali can better address domestic economic challenges and pursue development strategies that align with its national priorities. Let's end this video with one question. Why would France even do it? Has it ever tried to harm Mali? Mali, a West African nation rich in cultural heritage and natural resources, has long been subject to the influences and interventions of foreign powers, particularly France. The history of French involvement in Mali dates back to the colonial era, when Mali, then part of French Sudan, was under French rule. Even after gaining independence in 1960, Mali's relationship with France has remained complex, often characterized by France's continued economic, political, and military influence. This historical backdrop sets the stage for the more recent accusations of France actively trying to destabilize Mali. The Economic Community of West African States (ECOWAS) and the European Union (EU) have played significant roles in Mali's recent economic difficulties. Under substantial French influence, these organizations imposed severe sanctions on Mali. The sanctions included border closures and trade embargoes, severely disrupting the Malian economy. These actions were ostensibly in response to political instability and the military coup that brought President Assimi Goïta to power. However, many in Mali perceive these measures as punitive actions designed to weaken the country and maintain neo-colonial control. The border closures and trade embargoes had immediate and devastating effects on Mali's economy. With borders closed, the flow of goods and services was severely restricted, leading to shortages of essential items such as food, medicine, and fuel. Trade, which is crucial for Mali's economy, especially given its landlocked status, was drastically reduced. The embargoes also hindered Mali's ability to export its resources, such as gold and cotton, which are vital for its economic stability. The sanctions exacerbated existing economic hardships, contributing to inflation and increasing the cost of living. As prices for basic goods soared, the burden on ordinary Malians became unbearable, leading to widespread discontent and social unrest. The economic strain also weakened Mali's ability to fund essential services, further destabilizing the nation. Beyond the influence over ECOWAS and the EU, there are allegations that France has been actively trying to make things worse for Mali. These claims suggest that France has engaged in covert operations aimed at undermining Mali's stability and economic security. Despite these alleged efforts to destabilize the country, Mali has shown resilience and a capacity to detect and respond to these challenges. President Goïta and his administration have taken several steps to counteract the economic sabotage and reduce Mali's dependency on external influences. Do you think France's attack will harm Mali if Mali stays ahead of it? Why is France, which is itself struggling with issues like homelessness, so invested in Mali? Let us know in the comment section. Do you think their economy depends on exploiting Mali? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.